Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Live Chat with James, coming to you from the ProPix TV studios here in Vancouver, British Columbia. A lot on the topic of conversation for tonight when it comes to news headlines and what's making news here in Canada and around the world. Tonight we're going to be focused more on Canada. What a shocker. Excuse me, as we discuss many different things, including the royal visit by King Charles and Queen Camilla, the recent appearance by the couple at Canada House in Trafalgar Square to mark the 100th anniversary of Canada House there, was very much covered by the Canadian and international media, as we expect the royal visit of His Majesty King Charles as he arrives to make the throne speech in the House of Commons this Tuesday. It's the first time for most of us to see him or any monarchy make the throne speech, as it's only the third time that the throne speech will be made by the monarchy since the Confederation of Canada. So again, it will mark a big signification of the King's leadership as the King of Canada, and as he does so, there are a lot of people that understand that this is significant, not only in the fact that it's the third time that a monarch has made the throne speech, but in the timing that it also is a real signal to the U.S. and to Donald Trump that Canada will not be the 51st state, and it is assumed that, excuse me, that it is sending a clear message of that unity. Now, of course, there is an individual that some of you may or may not have heard of, and that's Pete Hoekstra. Now, he is basically the ambassador to Canada, the representative from the U.S., and he showed up on a CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, on a talk show there and did an interview. Pretty much across Canada, he was seen as an arrogant, pompous prick who really had no respect for the country he is in, no knowledge of Canada's history and our links to the monarchy or anything else about Canada. He came across as smug, as arrogant, and completely disrespectful of Canada. There's been a lot of online calls for him to get the boot right out of Canada back to the US. So we'll watch and see how that works. But again, he came off very arrogant and ignorant and with absolutely no respect for Canada, which is not something that you want in an ambassador or someone who is here in an official capacity representing not only the United States, but it's supposed to be building bridges, supposed to be building relationships, and to nurture and cultivate our long-standing cooperation that we've had with the U.S. that seems to be dwindling away in recent months. Now, again, people have taken to social media to demand Pete Hoekstra be given basically a boot in the ass right across the border, sending him back to the U.S. But we'll watch and see how that works out. Chances are nothing will change. He will just be a big mouthpiece that pisses off Canadians and gets nothing done. Yeah, sounds about par for the course with the Trump administration. Now, again, going back to the King. Excuse me, folks. Sorry about that. So King Charles, again, he will be in Canada on Monday and Tuesday, and this will be a significant visit. But before he can address the House of Commons and to deliver the throne speech, another big part of the puzzle has to be sorted out, and that is prior to the throne speech. And that is picking out a new leader of the House, or Speaker of the House. And that job basically is someone that is picked out and elected by MPs. It is an MP himself or herself in terms of who is on the ballot. And it goes through an election process that is confidential and basically a blind ballot. They turn around and they will vote until a new Speaker of the House is elected. That speaker, although they have affiliation with a certain party, at that point they are no longer working within the caucus of that party. They are a nonpartisan representative of the House of Commons. They can have MPs kicked out of the chamber for inappropriate behavior, inappropriate language. They can also demand that MPs apologize for using non-parliamentary type language as well. Again, that has to be done before the throne speech. So there's a lot to get done in the next 2 days. And of course, there's going to be a lot more to be done, as Mark Carney has warned all MPs, both Liberal and otherwise, that he wants to hit the ground running and get some things taken care of. He has warned them to be prepared to be working on a lot of projects and a lot of initiatives before long. They don't want to sit and wait. He wants to start getting things going. One of the things, of course, that he campaigned on and wants to deliver on is having the tax breaks for Canadians delivered before Canada Day, which is on July the 1st. Now, this we'll watch, and we'll also watch on other initiatives, as he wants to ensure that the trade talks with the U.S. move forward, that they are meaningful, but at the same time that they represent the interests that are fair and equitable for Canada, not one-sided in terms of or in favor of the U.S. So again, they have to be fair terms. With that said, of course, he is also not backing down from his position to expand the trade relationship Canada has with other nations and to diversify our trading partners. He is really moving forward on the fact that the U.S. has become less stable and less of a reliable partner. But again, he wants to see the trade issues resolved. He wants to get back to business as usual with the U.S., but at the same time, it will not be in the same type of trade situation that it has historically been. And that is, again, in part because he is looking to diversify our trading partners and our trading relationships with other countries around the globe so that we are not locked in or as reliant on the U.S. as they've become an unreliable partner. With that said, of course, we also have to note that the G7 is coming to Canada at the end of June or mid-June. That will be taking place in Alberta, and what a beautiful place for it to be. Just in the bosom of the Rocky Mountains, as some would describe it. Just a beautiful, picturesque landscape, a beautiful area for relaxation and calmness, but again, a beautiful location for a G7 summit that tends to bring a lot of success to the G7 nations. However, this year there may be some tensions, as Donald Trump has confirmed that he will be attending the G7 summit. And of course, there are a lot of interesting things that we'll be watching for, and that, of course, will include his relationship with trade partners in the G7, whether it's Japan, Canada, Keir Starmer from the UK. I mean, you know, we're just going to have to watch and see how the G7 plays out with Donald Trump in attendance. Now, I also understand there's going to be very strict security, heightened security, even that higher than in previous G7 summits, given that Donald Trump will be present, and it is also expected that there will be a lot of protesters and others to signify their displeasure with Trump being in Canada, as not just as a convicted felon, but just the fact that it's Donald Trump and everything that he has been doing to destabilize the Canadian economy, and the way that he has dismissed Canada's sovereignty by trying to insinuate that he wants it to become a 50, well, not even insinuate, the way he claims he wants it to be the 51st state, and, you know, the disrespect of Justin Trudeau and calling him the governor. And regardless, people, whether they like or disliked Justin Trudeau, it pissed off a lot of people on both sides of the aisle when Trump continued with that type of rhetoric and conversation. So again, we'll watch and see how that plays out in terms of protesters and people that are pissed off that Trump is in Canada come mid-June. Congratulations to the Edmonton Oilers once again. They have won by a commanding lead. 6-1 was the final score on Sunday. Congratulations to the Edmonton Oilers. That takes them up 2-1 over the Dallas Stars. And it is going to be a great game to watch, Game 4 as it comes up. But also congratulations to Connor McDavid, who is still on fire. 2 goals in the latest outing, and it really has become a hot story across Canada and throughout the NHL to watch how he contributes to the success of the Oilers this playoff season. He has been a stellar player so far this postseason, and I'm sure that is going to continue on, and we'll watch and see how this series plays out. But again, Edmonton being the last Canadian team standing in the Stanley Cup playoffs this year. So, Canada is behind them and supporting them for the most part. But again, it doesn't take away from our loyalty to our hometown teams like the Vancouver Canucks here. I've been a fan since I was a kid of the Canucks, through thick and thin, through good and bad. I will and always have stood by them, and as frustrating as that can be, I guess I'm a sucker for punishment because I keep hoping that this season is the one for the Canucks. But again, they're out golfing, preparing to take the cup next year. At least that's my bubble, that's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. So don't burst my bubble. But again, congratulations to Edmonton. Well played, and we look forward to watching Game 4 of the series. Beautifully done. Now, let's move on to something a bit more serious. Of course, the Russian drone and missile attacks that took place over the weekend. It represents one of the worst attacks by Russia on Ukraine, and so far it is understood that 4 lives have been lost as a result of the attacks over the weekend. They were very heavy in Kyiv as well as other regions of the country. And at this point, there is still assessments being done. There is still rubble to be cleared, and we expect that the death toll will likely rise once that is done. Now, as most of you are aware, I did cover the Ukraine war. I was there in March and April of 2022, and I met some amazing Ukrainian people. Most of the main city of Kiev in the capital was evacuated or cleared out when I was there. There were amazing soldiers, military members from the Ukraine military, and others who, whether it was police officers, civilians that were guarding checkpoints, and others who were volunteering to fill sandbags and circle the monuments in Independence Square to help preserve them and protect them. I mean, the spirit of the people was not one of fear, but one of defiance. And they were ready to defy Russia and Vladimir Putin at every step of the way. They were willing to give it all and lay it all on the line to protect their sovereignty and to protect the future of Ukraine. When we look at current situations as they are, over this weekend, there was hope by a lot of people, including myself, with the exchange started of 1,000 POWs from Ukraine and 1,000 from Russia that were supposed to be exchanged as part of that prisoner swap. And that was really, I was hoping, a start to moving forward in terms of peace talks and a ceasefire. Now, Ukraine has agreed to a ceasefire, unconditional ceasefire, and Ukraine really believes that that is the best way to start in terms of peace talks, and I must say that I do believe that as well. But regardless as to what the peace talks look like, they need to be sincere and genuine with the interest of ending a war at the heart of them. And at this point, it does not appear that Vladimir Putin is in a position that he genuinely wants to have peace talks. Instead, it appears, and this is my opinion here, that it appears he is looking to stall off as long as he can, any further sanctions against himself, his oligarchs, and any other sanctions that hit the international markets, whether that's oil and energy, natural gas, and so forth. He just seems to be really stalling it off as long as he can, and it definitely helps that he has Donald Trump in his back pocket. Now, this is a major concern because as these tariffs, as these sanctions, as these penalties by the U.S. continue to be kicked further down the road, of course, that just makes Putin feel that he is more empowered to continue this senseless, needless, and illegal attack on the people of Ukraine. Now, Vladimir Zelensky has been steadfast in his defense of his nation and defense of his people. And there's a lot of people out there that question his commitment in terms of, accusing him of corruption, accusing him of, all kinds of stupidness. But at the end of the day, he has been battling corruption in his country since he took office. He moved swiftly upon obtaining his office to cut down and crack down on those perpetrating any type of corruption. And yes, there is still corruption in Ukraine. There's no doubt about it. But that is something that he is very dedicated to cutting out. And that is clear through the actions that he took prior to the escalation and full invasion by Russia. Now, of course, the war has had to take priority, as it should, and as such, Vladimir Zelensky has had to focus on that. But don't get me wrong, he still has his people focused as well on the corruption within his nation. The corruption is much less rampant than it was before, but again, he is focusing on many emergencies all at once, trying to hold his nation together, trying to preserve it, trying to defend it, and then working as the negotiator with the world when it comes to ensuring that they have the resources to continue fighting another day. Why are sanctions so slow in coming when it comes to Russia? Well, I could speculate on that all day, including his close relationship with Donald Trump and the Trump family, as well as many of the oligarchs who are tied in with the Trumps and Trump family, allegedly. So again, it is a sad day in Ukraine. We're seeing much higher level of attacks going on, not only in the capital of Kyiv, but elsewhere in the nation as well. And this bloody massacre of Ukrainians needs to stop. The world needs to take focus. They need to take control and say that enough is enough. We need to stop the bloodbath. Again, it was hopeful that with this prisoner exchange, we would be able to see some movement on the side of negotiating peace, or at least a ceasefire. But again, it does not appear as though that is actually a priority for Vladimir Putin. So I, again, spent time in Ukraine. I would definitely encourage people to be aware of what's going on. It is not getting as much media coverage as it had in the past. After 3 years, things happen in the news cycle, and it is dictated by things such as the corrupt practices and illegal activities of the Trump administration taking over a lot of news cycles. It has to do with the atrocities being committed in the Middle East, whether you're talking about Hamas, or you're talking about the attacks on Gaza and the West Bank and, Palestine in general. There's just so much going on in the world that the news cycle is really struggling to keep up with so many different demands. But again, unfortunately, the news media, when it comes to mainstream media, network news, all of that, they are driven by the need to turn a profit. End of the day, that is what the mainstream media is about. That's what the news is about. And that is one of the benefits that I have being a freelance journalist. I have my membership in the International Federation of Journalists. I'm a member of the CWA Canada. I'm a member of the International Documentary Association. I'm a member of many other organizations dealing with directly as a journalist. as well as in terms of documenting different events of history. And so again, with that said, I am looking to plan another trip back to the Ukraine to start or to cover more of what's happened since I was there last. And unfortunately, there are a lot of changes in a negative way when it comes to the buildings, to the infrastructure, to, just the entire thing, because it's been since March and April of 2022 since I was there last. So a lot has happened, especially within the capital city. However, I do look forward to again visiting Ukraine, hopefully before the end of this year. But again, as an independent and freelance journalist, basically how it works is that I and any of the channel supporters that like to contribute to the documentary coverage, to the news coverage, and other programs that we put forward. Again, it's that's how it gets funded. It's not through networks, corporations and all of that. So as an independent and freelance journalist, it is a lot more of a challenge. The last trip was self-financed with myself and a couple of people I know that stepped up and helped to finance the last trip to Ukraine. And again, we're not a corporate news agency, so it's not about profit for us. It's about telling the truth. It's about reporting from the ground. And yeah, that's exactly what I did the last time, through social media, through online platforms, as well as after I returned from Ukraine, continued reporting on it. Over this weekend, on all of my social media and streaming channels, I've been putting little clips out from the last time I was in Ukraine in celebration of the prisoner swap, and really to just bring attention to the Ukraine war, the need for people to still support them, whether that is through government, whether that's through private aid organizations such as the Red Cross or the UN or the World Central Kitchen, and all of those things. So again, just to really try to raise that awareness that that Ukraine is still under attack, that they are still in desperate need of support from the rest of the world, and anything less would be sending a clear message to Vladimir Putin that it is acceptable what atrocities he has committed, and the war crimes and crimes against humanity that have taken place by Russia since the start of this. So again, it's important for people to remember that the war is still going on, and that, the international community has to come together to put an end to this war in Ukraine, to stop the slaughtering of innocent women, children, mothers, fathers, grandparents, and so forth. It's just got to end. Now, on that subject, I will thank you all for tuning in and watching another live episode, or another episode of Live Chat with James. I see that nobody has any comments up in our comment section, so there you go. We will wrap up this show without comments tonight, I guess. Again, I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow night at approximately midnight Pacific Standard Time. And feel free to share any comments in the comment section below. Even on the rebroadcast of this on the various platforms, I still read the comments and try to respond to them accordingly. Again, thank you for tuning in for another live chat with James. This is ProPix TV in Vancouver, British Columbia, and I am James Cousineau. Thanks for tuning in.